Why did Wittgenstein become low-functioning in his later years? Ludwig Wittgenstein presents a rare, almost schizophrenic rupture in the history of philosophy. In his early years, he was the deity of logical positivism, constructing a crystal-hard edifice of truth. Yet in his later years, he personally dismantled this building, indulging in trivial language games. His fanatical yearning for Stalinist USSR and his ambiguous attitude toward the Hitler-Nazi regime constitute an inexplicable black hole in his intellectual spectrum. This transition from a grand system to fragmented ravings is often interpreted by Western academia as a turn. However, from the perspective of Eastern space-time philosophy, specifically the four-pillar system, this is actually a failure of energy structure. Wittgenstein's later years were essentially a process of losing the protection of the seals, representing systematic thinking, and subsequently being swallowed by out-of-control, epicure, and maverick energy, representing perception and expression. This shift in the energy field led to a regression in his functioning regarding reality judgment and political cognition. To understand his intellectual regression, one must first establish a space-time view. Intelligence is not a linear constant, but a variable subject to cycles. Through the Eastern lens, a person's life is divided into several 10-year periods known as luck pillars. The first 5 years of every luck pillar are dominated by one specific energy, while the latter 5 years are governed by another 10-god energy. This means that every 5 years, an individual is impacted by a completely new energy. Even the smoothest good luck does not exceed 30 years. An individual's destiny depends on whether their own energetic structure can process this incoming force. If the structure can transform the energy, it is considered obtaining luck, and the person's strength will leap forward in step. If the structure cannot dissolve or harness this energy, the person will be backlashed by it, manifesting as distorted temperament or loss of judgment. No one can possess more than 30 years of pure good luck. Wittgenstein is a rewater day master. This represents a bottomless ocean. However, his system has a special configuration. He possesses an extremely strong metal element known as the crest ore. Metal represents cold precision and also symbolizes a stream gushing from the end of a mine. This means he was born to be a high-precision processor within an established system. However, he has a fatal defect. His original chart lacks the epicure or maverick elements. He is naturally devoid of the hardware for divergent creation. His system was designed to organize data, not to generate wild new ideas. So how did he write the shocking Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus? The answer is that he borrowed luck. Let us look at the evidence. Wittgenstein's highlight moments perfectly correspond to the gifts of energy cycles. From 1911 to 1915, he entered the yin-wood luck pillar. This was a magical moment. The yin-wood energy not only brought him his most needed epicure element, which is the wood energy representing creativity, but it also carried the warmth of the windfall god, associated with being fire or the sun. It was during these years that in 1911 he rushed into Russell's room, and in 1912 was selected for the elite apostles, beginning to conceive his great work. During these 5 years, he borrowed the graphics card for divergent thinking and had the sun shining on his deep water. He had both the tools to create and the climate to shine. At that time, he was complete. Then came the phase of the Lone Ranger in war from 1916 to 1920. This was the Yi Wood period, known as his maverick luck pillar. The energy shifted from gentle to the radical maverick. The maverick drives people to challenge death. The result was that he went to the most dangerous front lines of World War I and wrote philosophy amidst artillery fire. Following this was the Cage of Rules from 1921 to 1925. This period was dominated by True Earth, representing wet soil. There was already enough earth in his destiny, and while dry, warm earth would have been acceptable, wet soil is the most dreadful. At this time, Wittgenstein's creativity vanished. He became a painful elementary school teacher in the Austrian countryside, attempting to discipline children with tyranny. The final flash occurred between 1926 and 1930, under the Yi-Wood luck. This marked a return to the fleeting glory of the epicure luck. During this time, he designed the Stoneborough House and returned to Cambridge. This was the last normal operation of his output function. The last stage was the Great Flood from 1931 to 1950. These were the easy water and high water periods, corresponding to his twin and plunder luck. This was also his abyss luck. The collapse began. Massive amounts of water poured in, and the fire was completely extinguished. The deep sea became pitch black. Please remember, His original chart has no epicure or maverick elements. The time he briefly shone was due to the epicure energy given by his luck. In his later years, he still wanted to produce new research results through creative thinking. But the epicure and maverick are divergent forces. When he had no foundation, this turned into fragmented phrases. Coupled with a pile of floodwater, his thinking became what is known as wood floating on excessive water. In the dark abyss, he could not see reality clearly, and naively wanted to go to Stalin's Soviet Union to work as a laborer. The logical building dissolved, turning into the fragmented philosophical investigations, which were essentially ravings floating on cold water. After 1930, the creativity or wood energy he had borrowed had long expired, yet he attempted to leave the protection of the institution to pursue so-called original thinking. This reveals a cruel truth. So-called geniuses are often just people who achieved resonance with specific energies, under specific timing. True great wisdom does not lie in reaching the top during good luck, but in whether you possess enough awareness when fate pushes you toward paranoia and chaos to use past accumulation and bring the forces trying to tear you apart back onto the track of rationality. The fairness of the world relies on the cruelty of numinous cycles on humans. No one will be unlucky forever, and no one will be lucky forever. The only solution is to elevate awareness of one's structure and master one's own cycles. Explore about your blueprint at 10gods.com.